In 1998, The King of Queens looked like a simple blue-collar comedy, a delivery driver, his sharp-tongued wife, and a father-in-law who never stopped talking, all crammed under one roof in Rego Park. Nobody watching those first episodes could have guessed how far the story would travel once the cameras stopped rolling. Behind the laugh track sat a group of actors who would go on to chase fortunes, bury loved ones, fight institutions far bigger than any sitcom studio, and in some cases fade quietly out of the business altogether. 9 seasons on network television gave them all a shared beginning. What came after gave each of them a completely different ending, and that is the story worth telling now. Kevin James carried the show as Doug Heffernan, the good-natured deliverman whose exhaustion and appetite made him instantly recognizable to anyone who had ever worked a long shift and come home too tired to argue. James was 33 when the series began, already a road-tested stand-up comic who had spent years building an act around marriage, food, and the small humiliations of everyday life. That comic voice became the backbone of the entire show. Today, in 2026, Kevin James is 61 years old and shows no real sign of slowing down. He has continued working steadily in film, taking on projects like the Netflix series The Crew and the football comedy Home Team, while also returning periodically to the stand-up stage that made him famous in the first place. His financial position has only strengthened with time. Between his King of Queens salary, which climbed into the hundreds of thousands per episode by the later seasons, ongoing syndication payments, and box office hits like the Paul Blart films and the Grown Ups franchise, industry estimates now place his net worth somewhere in the neighborhood of $100 million. He has used that success to build a real estate portfolio that includes property in Florida, and he remains one of the rare sitcom leads who managed to turn 9 seasons of network comedy into a genuine, lasting film career. Jerry Stiller played Arthur Spooner, the unpredictable father-in-law whose outbursts and conspiracy theories turned him into one of the most quoted characters on the show. Stiller was already 71 years old when he joined the cast, and he brought with him decades of experience from stand-up comedy, Broadway, and a career built alongside his wife and Mira. He did not need to fight for attention in a scene. He simply arrived with it. Sadly, Jerry Stiller passed away on May 11, 2020, at the age of 92, in New York City, from natural causes. In the years before his death, he remained visibly active, returning for a cameo in Zoolander 2 and continuing to appear at industry events that celebrated his long career. His financial legacy was built on decades of steady work rather than a single windfall. Alongside The King of Queens, his earlier run as Frank Costanza on Seinfeld kept generating syndication income long after both shows left the air, and by the time of his passing his estate was estimated at around $14 million. He, Ann, and Mira were honored with a joint star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 2007, a fitting marker for 2 performers who built their careers side by side for more than 5 decades. Leah Remini played Carrie Heffernan, the sharp, fast-talking wife whose frustration with Doug's laziness gave the show much of its emotional friction. Remini was 28 when the series began, and she quickly became known for a comic energy that could turn on a dime from affectionate to furious. As of 2026, she is 55 years old and arguably more prominent now than she has ever been, though not primarily as an actress. In 2013, Remini left the Church of Scientology after decades as a member, and what followed was one of the most public confrontations between a Hollywood figure and a major organization in recent memory. Her 2015 memoir Troublemaker and her Emmy-winning documentary series Leah Remini, Scientology, and the Aftermath, which ran from 2016 to 2019, laid out her allegations of harassment and surveillance following her departure. That work reshaped her public identity from sitcom star to outspoken advocate, and it earned her real critical recognition along the way. She also returned to network comedy alongside Kevin James in Kevin Can Wait. Financially, her income today comes from a mix of syndication royalties from The King of Queens, book sales, and her documentary and producing work, with her net worth estimated at around $25 million. Victor Williams played Deacon Palmer, Doug's steady, level-headed best friend who often served as the voice of reason in a household full of chaos. Williams was 28 when the show began, and he brought a calm, grounded quality to a role that easily could have been reduced to a stereotype. In 2026, he is 55 years old and continues working consistently in television, having appeared in series such as The Affair, Sneaky Pete, and FBI, Most Wanted. He has largely kept his personal life out of the spotlight and remains based primarily in New York. Standing at well over 6 feet tall, Williams has spoken in interviews about the narrow range of roles black actors of his build were often offered in Hollywood, frequently being cast as police officers, security guards, or other authority figures regardless of the range he was capable of showing. Rather than chasing headline-grabbing projects, he has built a long, steady career on guest roles and supporting parts, supported by King of Queens syndication income, with his net worth estimated at around $2.5 million, a career defined less by spectacle and more by simple staying power. Patton Oswalt played Spence Alkin, Doug's socially awkward, endlessly opinionated best friend. A role that let Oswalt bring his stand-up sensibility directly onto the screen. He was 29 when the show began, and Spence quickly became a fan favorite specifically because he did not act like a typical sitcom sidekick. As of 2026, Oswalt is 57 years old and remains one of the most respected voices working in American comedy, continuing to release stand-up specials and take on prominent voice roles, including Matthew the Raven in Netflix's The Sandman. His career, however, was shaped by a genuine tragedy. In April 2016, his wife, true crime writer Michelle McNamara, was found dead in her sleep at the age of 46, with the cause later attributed to a combination of an undiagnosed heart condition and the effects of prescription medication. Oswalt has spoken openly and repeatedly about the grief that followed, describing the difficulty of raising their young daughter alone while trying to keep working. He eventually returned to the stage, and much of his most acclaimed later material deals directly with loss and rebuilding. Between his stand-up specials, his voice work, including his role as Remy in Ratatouille, and his ongoing screen career, his net worth in 2026 is estimated at around $14 million, a number that sits alongside a very public and very human story of survival. Gary Valentine played Danny Heffernan, Doug's chaotic cousin, and he is, in real life, Kevin James's actual brother. He was 38 when he joined the cast, bringing an easy, natural comic rhythm shaped by his own background in stand-up. By 2026, he is 64 years old and remains active in comedy, continuing to tour and occasionally return to the screen in projects connected to his brother, including Kevin Can Wait and the Paul Blart sequel. Working so closely within his brother's circle brought its own complications, and Valentine has acknowledged facing persistent accusations of nepotism over the years, the assumption that his opportunities came from family connections rather than his own comic timing. He has continued building his career largely through live performance and recurring collaborations, with syndication income from King of Queens adding a steady baseline. His net worth today is estimated at around $2.5 million. Nicole Sullivan played Holly Shumpert, the socially isolated dog walker, who became one of the show's more quietly poignant recurring characters. Sullivan was 31 when she took on the role, and she gave Holly a strange, specific vulnerability that stood out in a mostly broad comedy. As of 2026, she is 55 years old and has built a long career in both live action and voice work, appearing in series like Blackish and Disjointed, while also becoming a familiar voice in animated projects such as DC Superhero Girls. Sullivan has spoken candidly in interviews about the intense pressure female comedians faced around body image during the era in which she came up, describing the toll that constant scrutiny took even while she was delivering some of her most memorable performances. Her later shift toward voice acting and steady television work gave her a career with more longevity and considerably less public scrutiny, and her net worth today is estimated at around $4 million. Larry Romano played Richie Iannucci, Doug's street smart, unmistakably New York friend, bringing a rough authenticity to the group. Romano was 35 when the show began, and before joining King of Queens, he had already built a reputation as a reliable character actor with roles in Donnie Brasco and NYPD Blue. He left the show in its early seasons to star in his own sitcom, Kristen, which was canceled after only a handful of episodes, leaving him without the platform he had walked away from. Major roles became harder to come by in the years that followed. Today, at 62, Romano lives a quieter life, with his income largely tied to residuals from his earlier film and television work, and his net worth estimated at around $1.5 million, a reminder of how unforgiving timing can be in this industry. Marin Dungy played Kelly Palmer, Deacon's confident, independent-minded wife, a character who brought real stability into a show built on chaos. Dungy was 28 when she joined the cast, and she gave Kelly a groundedness that let the character exist as more than just a supporting spouse. By 2026, she is 55 years old and has continued working steadily across television, with credits including Big Little Lies and a recurring role as Francie Calfo on Alias, proving she could move comfortably into darker, more dramatic material. Dungy has spoken about the narrower range of roles frequently offered to black actresses in network television during the years King of Queens was airing, and about pushing for more depth in a character who could easily have stayed one-dimensional. She has built a stable career through a mix of television work and long-term residuals, with her net worth estimated today at around $3 million. Lou Ferrigno appeared as himself, Doug and Deacon's larger-than-life neighbor, a role that let him bring decades of built-in fame straight into the show. He was 49 when he joined the cast, already known worldwide for playing the title role in the 1970s series The Incredible Hulk. As of 2026, he is 74 years old and remains active and visible, maintaining strong ties to fans through Marvel-related appearances and comic convention circuits. Ferrigno's story carries real weight beneath the muscle. As a child, he lost roughly 75 to 80% of his hearing after a series of untreated ear infections, and he has spoken openly about being bullied and mocked for both his hearing loss and a resulting speech impediment. His father, a police lieutenant, was strict to the point of harshness, reportedly telling a young Ferrigno not to come home if he could not defend himself. Bodybuilding became his outlet, and eventually his path to fame. Decades later, in December 2018, he was hospitalized after a pneumonia vaccination left fluid built up in his bicep, an injury he later spoke about publicly as a caution to others about vaccine administration, though he recovered within days. His net worth today is estimated at around $12 million, the product of a career that started with a disability most people never got to see past. Sam McMurray played Doug's boss, Mr. Prosky, whose erratic energy added a sharper, more satirical edge to the workplace scenes. He was 49 when he took on the role, already a familiar face from film and television character work. By 2026, he is 74 years old and remains devoted to live theater, alongside a resume that includes Raising Arizona and voice work on The Simpsons, spanning well over 100 credits across his career. As a lifelong character actor, McMurray has spoken about the financial uncertainty that comes with being reliably employed but rarely the lead, long stretches between contracts, and the anxiety that comes with never quite being indispensable. Decades of steady residual income and stage work have built him a modest but stable financial base, with his net worth estimated today at around $2 million. Jenny O'Hara played Doug's mother, Janet Heffernan, bringing a warmth to the role that grounded some of the show's more chaotic family scenes. She was 59 when she appeared in the series, already carrying decades of stage and screen experience. As of 2026, she is 84 years old, still healthy, and occasionally takes on small roles simply out of love for the craft. Her film credits include Mystic River and Devil, and her career has spanned television and cinema in nearly equal measure. Built on decades of consistent, unglamorous work rather than a single breakout moment, her net worth is estimated today at around $2 million. Dakin Matthews played Doug's father, Joe Heffernan, bringing a quiet authority to a character who felt more human than the typical sitcom dad. He was 61 when he joined the series, already an accomplished stage actor and Shakespeare scholar. By 2026, he is 85 years old, mentally sharp, and still performing, with film credits including Lincoln and Bridge of Spies, and a recent return to Broadway in Inherit the Wind. Matthews deliberately kept much of his career rooted outside the celebrity machinery of Los Angeles, splitting his time between acting, teaching, and academic work on Shakespeare. That choice shaped a career built on income from selective acting roles, book royalties, and academic work rather than blockbuster fame, with his net worth estimated today at around $3 million. Alex Scooby played Doug Pruzan, the slick lawyer who worked alongside Carrie at her Manhattan law firm and appeared across roughly a dozen episodes over the show's run. He was in his late 20s when he took on the recurring role, and for a moment it looked like a possible launching pad to bigger things. By 2026, he is 53 years old and continues working steadily out of Los Angeles, with credits including CSI and The Fosters, while also spending time teaching acting to a new generation of performers. His career since King of Queens has been defined less by leading roles and more by consistent guest work and teaching income, with his net worth estimated today at around $1 million, a reminder that steady work, not stardom, is the more common outcome in this business. Victor Rader Wexler played Mr. Kaplan, the cold, controlling boss whose presence added real tension to Carrie's office scenes. He was 57 when he took on the role, already a veteran of American television with dozens of credits behind him. By 2026, he is 82 years old and has largely stepped away from Hollywood to focus on regional theater in Kansas. Long before and after King of Queens, he built an enormous resume, appearing in Everybody Loves Raymond, Friends,